hands. I'm going to just completely break routine here for 1 second and talk about this sending ohms. That our hands, I wondered for a long time that Master said in telepathy or in things where we're trying to feel very sensitive vibrations, that the heart is the receiver, and that the spiritual eye is where you're sending a thought out, or where you're sending out these vibrations. But then I wondered, so now why are we rubbing our hands together, and why are we sending Om through our hands? But I found in Master's teachings that your hands and your heart chakra can actually function in both ways. That it can both send vibrations and it can receive vibrations. And that Master's hands were so sensitive that he could receive vibrations even from the astral world and find Kashi there in the astral world, which is in that chapter in Autobiography of a Yogi. Anyways, a very strange esoteric thing. Strange to start with, but I thought you might not get that information anywhere else, so I thought to just share it there right now. Now we're on week number 5. The mystery of Avatar, or divine incarnation. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter states, as we saw last week, O Bharata, whenever virtue declines and vice predominates, I incarnate on earth. Taking visible form, I come to destroy evil and re-establish virtue. What is the mystery of this divine manifestation? Great avatars, such as Krishna and Jesus Christ, are born as babies, even as we all are. They take human form and go through normal human experiences as they grow from childhood to adulthood. They eat, they play. They may seem to suffer sickness and disappointment like the rest of us. In what way are they different from other human beings? The important thing to understand is that, even as they are like us, so are we also like them. Their realization can be ours too. They come on earth to show us our own divine potential. The difference lies not in the manner of their manifestation on earth, but in the consciousness with which they are born. All things are condensations, so to speak, of the cosmic vibration, Om, described by St. John's Gospel as the Word. Most human beings, however, are unconscious of their divine origin. The avatars, on the other hand, come consciously as manifestations of that divine reality. As the Gospel says in the 1st chapter, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Now, I want to start here with the fact that an avatar, or even a saint, that on all outward appearances, that they just seem to be like a very normal human being. In fact, one thing that I almost found uncanny about Swami Kriyananda was that he was like perfectly normal. He always was just had the right thing to say, or he was always in an uplifted mood, but he was just such a normal person that it was a little strange, that because most people have little quirks or like idiosyncrasies, and Swamiji just didn't have any of those. So he was so normal. But the point here is that we can miss the consciousness of a very high soul by just looking on how they behave outwardly. That we have to go within and kind of open our heart up to these great souls and try to listen on the inside for their guidance. In fact, there's some gurus who never speak at all, yet they will have disciples. Perhaps they'll even give a satsang where everyone just meditates together, but they're not speaking at all. But the disciples will leave there feeling uplifted. The disciples will feel that they have answers given to their questions. But that comes from the consciousness of a saint like that. So the point is that you can't come to know who's a saint and who's not a saint by outward looks only. Next point that I want to make is that this says they may seem to suffer sickness and disappointment like the rest of us. We would think that an avatar would never suffer a disappointment or maybe even sickness. Let's start with disappointment. It's like this, that you might have a favorite movie that you've watched 20 times, and you know when it's going to be sad, you know when it's going to be happy, but there's some part of you that pretends that you don't know because you like the movie and you watch it again and you get excited during the right parts and everything. It's the same way for an avatar, that he knows everything that's going to happen, that he's omnipresent in space and time, but he still suffers when his children suffer, and more than anything, he's suffering because they suffer and because he's one with them and because he knows that there is a better way and that he's trying to help them go that better way. And that's the whole reason that they're born. There's no other reason for avatars to be born. The other thing coming to an avatar is they experience sickness. But the sickness could be for many reasons, but usually the sickness isn't their own. That once you finish your own karma, you'll just take on the karma of others. That there's no way out of this thing outwardly. That the only way out is inwardly. So you can't judge whether someone's spiritual or not by whether they get sick all the time or whether they're never sick. That again, it's an inner thing. And in fact, for us to really know if someone's a saint or not, we too have to be a saint in order to judge 100% completely on that level. But of course, a saint can give us various experiences, and we can easily and instantly recognize that that person has a much higher level of consciousness than us. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he's a saint. That a person might be able to perform miracles, but still not have completely renounced their ego, and therefore not be a saint. And so we do need to be a little bit careful, but at the same time, if we're always praying to God, that God will give us the teachers that we need at that time, we don't have to worry too much about it. Now let's emphasize the point between an avatar and a saint. That a saint, being a Jivan Mukta, has completely renounced their ego and has achieved a state of cosmic consciousness, which means they're omnipresent in all of creation. And that's the same state that an avatar has attained. Yet the Jivan Mukta still has karma that needs to be worked out, and they'll still need to reincarnate and work out all of that karma. The Jivan Mukta, being one with God, could say, well, I'm supremely free, I just burn up all that karma in one incarnation and become a siddha just like that. But they don't do it. That Master said in that state, you don't care. You're already one with God. It's like, it can't get any more perfect for you on the inside. And when things go wrong on the outside due to karma of yourself or disciples, then it just doesn't matter to you. But an avatar then is as high as any soul could ever be, and as close to God as any soul could ever be, with zero barriers. And these people, they do not come often. They come as a Krishna, or a Christ, or a Buddha, or a Patanjali, or an Agastya in South India, or a Babaji. I just made a long list, making it sound like they come all the time, but they don't, and Babaji stays hidden. However, saints, they do come all the time. Once a brother monk of mine asked Swami Kriyananda, how many saints are there at any given time on the planet Earth? And he threw out a number like 8, 10, and Swami Kriyananda said, no, much more. And I believe that he said there's thousands, but don't quote me on that, even though this is recorded. But I believe that he said many, many more. So there's many saints all over. In the West, they stay hidden more. And I have a feeling that even in India, as India is going through this materialistic phase, that the saints are staying a little bit more hidden. But nevertheless, they are there. And God will send these saints to us when we're ready. And until then, He'll send us lesser teachers. He'll send us books. And that's okay too. That we just have to keep taking each step that's right for us. And, as you stay on the path for many years, as you meditate, as your consciousness begins to expand and grow, you begin to realize what an outstanding achievement it is to be an avatar. And in fact, it just seems like impossible. But Swami Kriyananda told us here in this little reading that they come to show us our divine potential. And if you've been meditating for many years and you still haven't achieved samadhi, don't worry. That the point here is that we have to remember that everything is directional. That as long as we keep heading in the direction of samadhi, as long as we keep heading in the direction of God realization, we shouldn't worry too much about how much time is it going to take anyways, and be marking off our calendar, thinking that if we do everything just right, we'll make it. That if we just keep going in the right direction, trying to meditate every day to please God, trying to serve our fellow mankind and serve them spiritually and help to uplift them, then that's the best we can do. And gradually our life gets better and better. So I don't mean to say like, it's the best we can do, that it just will never get any better. No, not that at all. That if you try too hard, you'll never get there. That we have to relax into the path. We have to relax into God realization. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about this aspect of us realizing that one day we too will become a Jivanmukta, one day we too will become an avatar, and just something for us to think about. And it was something I've probably said in previous talks. Swami Kriyananda would say it often, but it's a question, and the question is, how old are you? And I want to mentally go through this, because if you mentally start thinking through that, how old are you? Well, the first answer, you'll say, well, I was born in blah, 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 and that's how old I am. And by the way, people would ask him how old he was. I never tell my age. And that's one of the secrets to having a nice, long-lasting life, is that because you are eternal, and if you can hold that in your mind and not let the minds of the world also keep telling you, you're this particular age, you're this particular age, then you can remember your immortality. But of course, it has to be on all levels. But I've digressed a little bit. I want to get back to, if you keep asking yourself, how old am I? How old am I? Okay, so you have the date you were born, but hopefully you're a little wiser than that, and you realize that you are a soul, and that you are not this physical body. And so let's take the soul and, for right now, say that let's just call that generally your astral body, even though technically that's not your soul, but let's go from that point. So you say, I'm not my physical body, I'm my astral body. Okay, well, how old is my astral body? And that's a little bit of a tricky question. And we can go and we can read the books and we can say, okay, Master remembered being a diamond, and the scriptures say that it takes about 8 million incarnations to come up from the mineral level up to take a human form. So, wow, if each of those incarnations was 100 years, then we would have 800 million years old that our astral body would be, jumping from form to form to form. But then God only knows how many human incarnations we've had. And as you start looking into that and kind of feeling, well, what is my astral body? You start realizing as you get into your astral body that astral being, that astralness helps you feel that you're one with all of life. That the astral body is made of energy, and it is this energy that is permeating, that is animating all life. Swami Kriyananda wrote in his book, A Pilgrimage to Guadalupe, he said, when you die, when you leave your physical body and they bury your physical body in the ground, the worms will start eating it. And he says, but the worms are still getting nutrition from something, which means there still must be some energy left in your body cells. Oh, I pondered that for years, because I had it all worked out in my mind that when I leave my body at death, then my astral body withdraws, and I'm no longer attached to my physical body, and it is just dust. It doesn't matter. That it's just inert clay. But it's not. That there's still some energy there. And so the ego goes, well, wait, now is that my energy that those... Get off of there, worms. You can't have any of my energy. Is that my energy that the worms are eating? Or whose energy is that? And when you start asking yourself that question, you start realizing that your astral body, that your astral energy truly is permeating all things. And when you start thinking like that, if you start thinking that that energy is animating different diamonds other than the diamond you were, although you might not have been a diamond, an emerald, huh? But whatever you were, you start realizing that you're the life force that is in the birds, that is in the horses, that is in everything. And that step right there is what makes you understand that you are eternal, that you're eternal in time, and that you are all-pervading throughout all space and energy. And remember, that energy then is controlled by mind. And so we're trying to learn to withdraw back into that deepest state within ourselves, where we can not just philosophize about this and talk about this, but where we can feel that, where we can experience that. And that's the difference between someone who talks and a saint. That a saint is experiencing his oneness with all of the creation, that he can go anywhere in it, and that he's really there, and that he really feels himself in all people, that he really feels that he is suffering in all people. So it's interesting, but sometimes we do need to comprehend death. We need to think about it, because when you start thinking about it, you realize that we need to take these short years that we've been given right here, we need to take them very seriously, that we need to prepare for the final exam. And an avatar is a conqueror of death, that death can no longer touch him, that he's no longer bound by any karma, that he laughs at death. And to him, life and death are simply dualities, that it's no more than a thought of one side is alive, one side is dead. But who he truly is has nothing to do with either of those dualities. You know, this might be a little off topic, but I feel to say it right now. And because we're talking about duality, I used to think that when I would read about the Buddha, that he would talk about the middle path, the middle way. And I would think, oh, I understand it. That means I eat some ice cream, but I don't eat too little ice cream. I don't eat too much ice cream. And you can extend that to sex and alcohol and sleep and money and all the delusions out there. But I missed the point. The Buddha wasn't saying, go ahead and drink a little bit of alcohol, but not too much, not too little. That isn't what he meant by moderation in all things. It wasn't what he understood when he had that revelation with the string on whatever instrument it was. And he said that if it's too tight, the string will break. If it's too loose, the instrument won't play. That revelation that came to him meant that he shouldn't be attached. Let's use the ice cream again. I think it's a good one. It meant that he shouldn't be attached at all to the ice cream. That if ice cream comes every day, all right, eat the ice cream. If ice cream never comes again, all right, never eat ice cream again. And it's in that the true balanced life is, that the true non-dual state is. It means you don't want it, you don't not want it. That just whatever comes of itself, let it come. And this is the way also to become a Jivan Mukta. That we think that we're going to control all of this, but we can't control it. That it's really, a lot of it is fixed by karma, and I don't want to get too deeply into that right now. But the way out is just saying, okay, whatever comes, I accept it, and that my happiness is on the inside. And so we're constantly, every day is a new battle where we're trying to get that type of consciousness, and we're trying to understand life in that direction. Now, this is an interesting thing to do from this reading, and that is, you can go into the Christian Bible or the Christian teachings, and they're always talking about the Word, and the Word was God, and in the beginning was the Word. And people have got that so mixed up by shaking the Bible saying, this is the Word, and if you don't do this, then you're going to be a bad person. That's not it at all. The Word is Om. And it's a fascinating study to go into the Christian teachings and replace that word, the Word, with Om and begin to understand. And I want to read this again. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. The glory as of the only begotten, of the Father, full of grace and truth. And so the Word dwelling amongst them was Christ, but please again understand, this isn't talking about the flesh and blood that was walking around. This was talking about the consciousness. And that, again, means that we too can achieve that consciousness, that we're trying to go towards that consciousness. So, now as we talk about an avatar, it says in the autobiography of a yogi that an avatar's body casts no shadow. When I first read that, I had a friend who had been on the path for 30 years. I just had no idea about any of these things. And so I thought, well, maybe he's an avatar. And I thought, I have to check to see, does his body cast a shadow? And every day I'd forget, and I'd go to bed at night and think, darn it, I forgot. I have to check to see, does his body cast a shadow? And this went on for about a week, and then I saw that his body did cast a shadow. I thought, oh, well, he must not be an avatar. I had no idea what it meant to be an avatar. I mean, I would have known just by other outer things had I been a little bit more advanced on the path. But it reminds me of an interesting story. I don't know where this is written, it's just hearsay for me. But I hear that one of Paramahansa Yogananda's disciples, Brother Anandamoy, that he read that and he thought, oh, I have to check every day now to see if Paramahansa Yogananda casts a shadow. And he also forgot for a few days, but then when he finally saw that Master's body did cast a shadow, and Master knew all of this, and so when Master edited and changed the autobiography of a yogi from the original edition, one of the changes that he made, and I don't know it exactly, but it kind of went from going that avatar's body casts no shadow to an avatar's body may cast no shadow. Because of course Master could cast a shadow if he wanted to, but an interesting thing to think about. When I was in the monastery living with Swami Kriyananda, with all of the other monks, one monk that he just decided that he needed some space and he went off and did his own thing. And I was very troubled by this because I thought, how could someone be so near to someone like Swami Kriyananda who, was so saintly, that was just radiating out so much goodness and so much uplifting vibrations, and I had a hard time understanding how anyone could leave. And I talked to the person in charge of Ananda India at that time, and I said, how could he leave? And he said to me, in the Christian Bible, that Christ asked the disciples, who do people say that I am? And the disciples were saying, oh, some say you are the reincarnation of this prophet, some say you're the reincarnation of that prophet. And then Christ said, but Peter, who do you say I am? And Peter said, you are the Christ. You are the Son of God. And Christ said to Peter, very good, Peter. No one could have told you that. But you have to understand that from the inside out. And so I bring that up kind of where we started this topic today of an avatar. I bring that up because no one can really tell you. And if you enter into an ashram, there'll always be gossip of, oh, he's the most advanced. Oh, no. You met this guy? He's the most advanced. It has nothing to do with any of it. That the most advanced souls are the most quiet. And that you get to know who's advanced by advancing yourself in meditation and by then being able to feel their vibrations. And so it's what we must do. And again, I want to talk about where we all are, that we might meditate for years and it seems like we're going nowhere. But just keep trying and check in with the teachers that there are little things that we can do to make sure that you are making progress and that you do feel that. But even so, at the end of the day, that it's nishkam karma, even in meditation. And when we read about people conquering death, that it's like, are we getting there? Are we going somewhere here? Is this going to happen for me too? Yes, it's going to happen for you too. That one day you will be able to conquer death. Master says breathlessness is deathlessness. And if you're practicing Kriya Yoga every day, you are going to slowly, slowly begin to achieve a state of breathlessness. It's going to take time. And it doesn't happen slowly. That if you want to plant an apple tree, a lychee tree, whatever kind of tree, that you can plant that seed, but it's going to take many, many years. And you have to give it all the right nutrients and water and sunshine and all that. It's going to take many years before that tree turns into a big tree that can give fruit. It will take many years before your Kriya Yoga gives the fruit of breathlessness. But never stop. Never give up. Keep trying, day by day. Try to go deeper. Try to go further. That same monk that left, he said to Swami Kriyananda, Master said that every night we should meditate deeper before we did the last night without going to bed, and I'm not sleeping very well because I'm not meditating deeper and I'm trying. Swami laughed and said, don't worry, that you can't take all of these things perfectly literally or you'll drive yourself crazy. That you have to just go slowly, try to meditate more and more deeply every day, but no one's progress is perfectly linear. And then relax. Just relax into God. Relax into His joy. You know, children don't wonder, are my parents going to take care of me? Are they going to feed me? You have that same childlike devotion to God. Know that He's going to take care of you, that everything's going to work out, that you can just live free, you can live in joy, live in peace and happiness. Anyway, we have a few minutes left. Are there any questions? No, I want to look at this and see if there's anything that I've forgotten. Two things, maybe three. One, if you're worried that you're not going to be an Avatara tomorrow, or that you're just so far behind that you're not even close to breathlessness or turning your body into light, remember Master's words. It takes very, very, very good karma to even want to know God. So if you're on that track, look at the world, look at the people around you in the world, that they aren't thinking about God at all, that they just think, well, I'll make a better dinner tonight and that will make me happy. They still have many incarnations to go. And so you've already lived many, many incarnations. So know that you're close. And just doing, done. Just put your hand to the plow, as Christ said. Don't look backwards. Just keep going. Just keep going. You'll get there. I also want to talk about one time Swamiji he was trying to figure this whole thing out and looking at Master and trying to figure out that Master wasn't really in that body, that he was in all bodies, that he was omnipresent in all three worlds. And he knew now Master's in that body and he's in this body. How can that be? And Master knew his thoughts and just looked at him and just handed him an apple. And in that way, I think Master was saying, don't try to reason this out so much, that you're not going to get there that way, that you're going to get there by pure devotion, that you're going to get there by depth in meditation and by experiencing God. So a little philosophy is all right. It's good to read, study, then go deep in meditation, go deep in seva, put it into practice, and then come back. And I'm going to end with these three words from the autobiography of a yogi. And this is the paradoxical isolation of omnipresence. These three words in that order that Master put. The paradoxical isolation of omnipresence. It's in the chapter of Anandamayi Ma in Autobiography of a Yogi. And Master's describing how that sometimes you'd be with her and she felt so close to you that you just felt like she was your best friend. And then sometimes you would just feel that she didn't care about you at all. It's like, oh, hope you have a nice incarnation. Nice to meet you. Bye. And that it's like, how can it be like that? But it just is, because a Master knows that everything's going to work out for you perfectly, and he's not there to caress your ego and give you ego balm, that he's there to get you out of your ego. And yes, he loves you, but on a deeper level, he loves who you truly are, and that he might give you any one of those at any given time. So I just was bringing that up also as we were trying to understand what an avatar is, trying to relate to what a saint is, but also paradoxical isolation of omnipresence. As you go on the spiritual path, you too might feel a little more withdrawn from your worldly friends. That's all right. Get new spiritual friends. But even then, that your friendship becomes in God, and it becomes a little bit different than the worldly friendship. And your true friend is God, and that you're trying to relate to everyone as God. And so it truly is paradoxical that as one becomes omnipresent and literally in everyone, that a certain separation comes from everyone. It's something we just have to deal with. Don't be afraid of it. It sounds like I'm ending on a downer, but that in that state, that from my understanding as far as I've gone, that a deep love comes. And that love makes everything all right. That it's that love that we've been seeking for all these incarnations since we've been a diamond. So let's do the little bit of work that's left for us here at the end. A little bit of work of opening our heart and feeling God's presence. And let's do this together. And let's share this joy and love of God with everyone